To assess the Syrian Democratic Forces operation south of Hasakeh and the liberation of Hol, we go now to Sweden. Joining us from there, President of the Syriac National Council, Mr. Bassam Said Ishak. Welcome, Mr. Ishak, to our program. The Syrian Democratic Forces have liberated yesterday the strategic important Hol town. What is your assessment of this advance?
Good morning, and thank you for having me on your program today. This victory is very important because it's a first victory under the coalition of Syrian Democratic Forces. Now, members of these coalition, the YPG, the MFS, Syriac Military Council, and Sanadid have fought before, but this is the first time they fight along with no other allies under the name of the Syria Democratic Forces and achieve success. So this is key, this is important, and it's a sign for the future.
In your opinion, could the Syrian Democratic Forces play any role in cleansing Syria from ISIS and other gang groups?
Definitely. I mean, historically, as I mentioned before, using the name Syrian Democratic Forces, member of this military alliance have fought ISIS in Kobani and Hasakeh, and they have liberated the villages, the Assyrian villages along the Khabur River, pushed back ISIS from the city of Hasakeh and from other areas where ISIS tried to penetrate province of Hasakeh. So they have a track record, a successful track record. Now it's expanded under the umbrella of the Syrian Democratic Forces, and it has proved itself on the ground again that this is the kind of coalition that is needed to make the point that the Syrian people don't want the vision of ISIS. They want a vision of a pluralistic vision for Syria, a vision that is inclusive, just like the Syrian Democratic Forces is inclusive. It includes Kurds, Arabs, Turkmeni, Syriacs, and this is the way forward for Syria. It's the way to achieve the goals of the early peaceful revolution of the Syrian people that aspired for freedom and dignity for all Syrians equally.
Let's move on now to something else, Mr. Ishak. There is a campaign going on in Turkey against the democratic self-rule administrations of the three cantons. Some Syrian opposition groups funded by Turkey are accusing the cantons of forcibly displacing Syriac Assyrians and Armenians. How true are these allegations?
The Syriacs and all other ethnic communities and the self-administration, whether Turkmeni, Armenians, and all others, they are living now safely in the democratic self-administration region. The reason is because they have come together and took on the responsibility of protecting themselves, and they took on this responsibility under a political umbrella called the democratic self-administration, and they base this umbrella on a social contract that recognized the identities and of all the groups. So I think this new model, pluralistic model for our area, has become a target by all surrounding typical governments who are feeling either threatened by this pluralistic model, or they misunderstand the model. They misunderstand that it is about pluralism. They think it's about Kurdish nationalism. And this is why we see countries like Turkey, for example, opposes this model, and not just Turkey. There are others in the neighborhood in our around the boundaries of Jazeera Canton and Kobani and Afrin, who misunderstand this model, or if they understand it, they oppose it. But this is the model that reflects the aspiration of the Syrian people. And this is the model that has proved itself on the ground that it can fight and defeat ISIS, and it can liberate lands from ISIS. So this is the model that is worthy of support of the international community and of the eventually, we hope that the neighbors like Turkey and the KRG, Kurdistan regional government, Iraqi government, and the Syrian government, and the Syrian opposition forces will come to understand and cooperate with the goals and aims of the Syrian democratic forces.
President of the Syriac National Council, Mr. Bassam Said Ishak, you've been with us from Sweden. Thank you very much for joining our program.